All right, we still have caffeine in our systems. Yay! Uh, my name is Martin Cisneros, and I am one of your academic technology specialists. For those of you who have no idea what we do, we are professional grade when it comes to blended instruction. So, how do you use technology in education? So, I'm part of this is my team at the county office. Uh, and we've all done a variety of different jobs over our years in education. This is now I'm going on my 30th year. Out of those 30, there has been 27 in ed tech. I had my first tech TOSA job in 1999. I love to tell people that. And I started using technology before we had internet in our school. So, yeah, I've dealt with issues along the way. But the reason why we're here today, ladies and gentlemen, is to talk a little bit about accessibility and what we can do in order to enhance. And this thing always works when the technology works. There is, yeah. Let's try that again. Uh, one more time. Let's hit the. Are we online? Yes, we are. Okay. I always love to start it over again. Well, it's okay. I have a dance feature that will entertain you. No, we're not. It's thinking. Yeah, no, the PDF one. It's coming. There it is. It just needed your touch. That's all it needed. It's coming. Yay! There we are. So, what normally, if you've never been to any of my sessions, I normally put more information so you can continue learning. I know we're here for an hour and a half, basically, based on a lot of you I know will have extra questions once you leave, right? It's like when you take your car to the mechanic, it's like, oh, there's this noise being made, and of course you take it there, and then nothing happens, and then once you leave, it happens again. So, I created a bit.ly for you. This is a URL shortener. This is what you want to write down, bit.ly/EPS PDF, and that should take you directly to this presentation. Now, as you're writing that down, or if you're on a computer, if you automatically go there, you'll see my information. And everything that I'm talking to you about today can be found there. So I have videos, I have links, if you want to further your training on here. So my first question for you is, raise your hand if you have, and this might be for the tech services as well, Adobe Acrobat Pro installed in the machine that you use. So that's pretty much everyone. No, you don't have it installed. So, but there's two things I'm gonna be reviewing because a lot of us end up using PDFs, but many of us create those PDFs. So at the county office, because we support all of our districts in our county, we're always looking at how can we best prevent even having to fix stuff at the end. So I'm going to show you some preventive measures of when you're building these documents before you turn them into PDFs. I'm assuming, you can tell me if I'm wrong, you're either using Microsoft Word to create these documents or you're using Google Docs. Raise your hand if you use Microsoft. Raise your okay. The other half uses Google, which is right. What? So and it goes straight to PDF. Okay, so that was be my third one from a database on over to a PDF. So those of you don't have too much of a choice, but there'll be some stuff. Yay? We're good? Okay. So, fundamentals. For those of us, I'm just scanning the room really quick. When we were growing up and we were in school, we didn't have to worry too much about our social media component and our electronic docs because we didn't have any of those things growing up. Now, of course, a total different set of rules. Especially a few years ago where certain districts were being hit with this liability of not having all their stuff accessible. It really gave us the rest of the way, especially at the county office, what we can do. But it's not as difficult as people seem
Got you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Shadar Razan. I'm the Accessibility Strategy and Technology Specialist at W3C, World Wide Web Consortium. And today, I'd like to tell you about web accessibility. The web is for many people an essential part of daily life, at work, at home, and on the road. Web accessibility means that people with disabilities can use the web equally. For example, somebody who cannot use their arms and uses a mouse stick to type, or someone who cannot hear well and uses captions to watch videos, or someone who cannot see well and uses a screen reader to read aloud what's on the screen. Accessibility has many benefits. For example, captions benefit anyone in a loud or in a quiet environment, and good color contrast works better when there is glare. Also, people with age-related impairments, such as reduced dexterity, benefit. In fact, everyone has a better user experience with an improved layout and design. A lot of accessibility can be built into the underlying code of websites and applications. Web technologies from W3C, such as HTML, provide support for many accessibility features. For example, features to provide text alternatives for images, which are read aloud by screen readers and also used by search engines. Also, headings, labels, and other code supports accessibility and improves the quality overall. Good authoring tools, such as wikis, content management systems, and code editors, help create accessible code, either automatically or with input from the author. Also, web browsers, media players, and apps need to support accessibility features. W3C provides standards to help make the web accessible, which are internationally recognized by governments and businesses. Most well known is the Web Content Accessibility Guideline, WCAG. WCAG is also ISO standard 4500 and adopted in the European standard called EN 301549. It is built around four core principles. First, perceivable. For example, so people can see the content or hear it. Operable, for example, so people can use the computer by typing or by voice. Understandable, for example, so people get clear and simple language. And robust, so people can use different assistive technologies. Besides WCAG, W3C also provides the Authoring Tool Accessibility Guidelines, ATAG, which defines requirements for content management systems, code editors, and other software. And the User Agent Accessibility Guidelines, UAAG, defines requirements for web browsers and media players. There are over 1 billion people with disabilities, or around 15 to 20% of the population. The UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities defines access to information, including the web, as a human right. Most countries around the world have ratified this UN Convention.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it there. But gives you the idea. And I know most of you are thinking, well, I don't do website, I'm not doing coding. And I just wanted to give you the overarching because as we move forward, you're gonna be seeing a lot more tools that are going to be available to you. So at the moment, I know we're all comfortable with Microsoft Word and Google Docs. But even if you're using Google Docs, and even if you're using Microsoft Word and you're using the Office 365, Office 365, you now understand that those documents can now become websites by themselves. So what you're about to learn today is going to be useful throughout. So the best way I tell people in our generation is imagine when you first learned how to drive a car. The two components were stick and automatic, right? So you're going to learn both today because moving on forward, these are going to be standardized wherever you go. And the best thing I'm going to be able to tell you is use the tools in whatever authoring system that you're using. And what I mean by that is if you're using Microsoft Word or you're using Google Docs, if you see on the font that says header, but you decide to go ahead and just put a type box and start typing your own, and then you make it bold, and then you make the font bigger. it's best just to use the tools that's available to you. So when you see header, click on header and then type in the name of your document. When you're going to use a table, use the table feature, because as long as you do that, then it makes it really simple when you transfer that over to a PDF. But I know for some of you, you're thinking, well, Martin, I don't have the original. How do we make our current PDFs accessible? And we're going to go over that as well. At any time, because I know myself, I might go a little fast, and you might have a question, please stop me, because I am here for you. And like I always say, if you ever attend any of my sessions, I become your tech buddy for life. So even if you're driving home and you have this burning question, like, oh no, he left. No. I'll give you my information, so you can always give me a call, and we can always help you out. Yay? All right, let the fun begin. All right, so first and foremost, I'm going to lead you to here, because this is the mother load right here. This is if you want to go more and you want to dive into other materials that you have. This is where you're going to learn a lot of this stuff, right? And like I said, accessibility becomes really, really simple once you know where to look for it. For example, what am I using here? I am using Google Slides in order to present my information. Some of you might know this, other you might not. But there's this wonderful little button down here that says closed captioning. If you ever have to present in front of a public crowd, and because you are part of this wonderful school district, here's my suggestion. Click on this guy as you're presenting. And now, as I'm speaking, look what is happening at the top of my slide deck. Ooh, right? Automagically, you are now seeing closed captioning live at any time. And even if you don't have a full-blown deck, just put the title of whatever you're talking about and turn that feature on, and you now have closed captioning wherever you go. So I always do this for teachers, but for administrators and for all staff, I think this is something that we should all know how to do. All right, back to our regular program. Actually, I'm just going to leave that on. So a few things that I want to talk over to you is how do we make PDFs accessible, right? So, for example, how can you check whether or not a PDF that you currently have, how do you make sure whether or not that is accessible? And once you find out, how can you correct it if there are certain features that are not set? So I'm going to show you how to check for accessibility in all documents, and then I'm also going to show you how to correct it from the beginning. So the first thing I want to show you is how do you change from something from a Microsoft Word document over to an Acrobat Pro or Adobe Acrobat. Now, if you hear me say the word Adobe Acrobat, Acrobat Pro, this is what I'm saying. Adobe is the name of the company. Acrobat Pro is the name of the product. PDF is the end product. So sometimes I know myself, because I've been doing this for such a long time, I might say Adobe Acrobat Pro, PDF. Just understand Adobe is the name of the company, Acrobat Pro is the name of the software, and PDF is the end product, is the exact document. Yes, sir?
How about Acrobat DC?
So Acrobat DC is just the flavor of the current, and it has to do something with the cloud, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that. It should be. We have the professional version, so if you don't have it, we can install it on your computer.
All right. So on this one, I already have a model that I have here, right? So this is a regular Microsoft Word document, right? And normally, people see this on the right-hand side, create and share to Adobe PDF for viewing. My suggestion is the following, right? Go to File, and then you can, on this particular version, you can always go Save As. And when you go to Save As, you'll see right in the middle, say, okay, we're going to save this as a Microsoft Word document. Nope, we are going to change that into a PDF. Now, all right, you see the ending, because the ending says what? .pdf. Before you click OK, I'm going to save you 80% of learning about accessibility at the moment. Because mine is set to right below down here, you're going to see this. You're going to see this little radial, this little button that says best for electronic distribution and accessibility. uses Microsoft Online Service. What does that mean? That means it's going to check your document to make sure that the heading says heading, that the table says table, that the picture, well, we'll talk about pictures in a moment. But you understand where I'm going with this? Because whether you understand or not, all of your documents have tags inside of them, right? So why are tags important? Tags are important so if you have a person who's using a web reader, right? It's some type of reader on their machine that allows them to read the document for them. If your PDF is not tagged, the program doesn't know what to read, doesn't know where to go next, right? I'm going to give you a great example. If I took you to a bookstore that you've never been to here in the U.S., and then I would ask you, grab any book you want, and I go open to any page, and I go start reading, where would you start reading? Whatever page you open to, but where would your eyes go? Upper left, at the top, right? Because that's our norm. Well, a computer program, doesn't matter what it is, it's only a program and it will only do what you tell it to do. That's what tags are for. Tags tell the machine or the software what to do. So if you create a PDF with no tags, then there's no instructions. So it doesn't know what to read. And that's when it's not accessible. That's when people who need this type of information cannot read your document. And in your mind, you're probably saying, well, can't they just highlight it and then make it text? No, the answer is no, because they don't know what's on the page. It could be a movie, it could be a sound, it could be a variety of different multimedia components. But I just want to make sure we have that base down of why we need to tag our stuff. And like I said, it's not hard if you use the tools within your authoring applications. Once again, Microsoft Word has that ribbon on top. It says heading. It says you want to add a footer, a header. Use that. Because, if you were anything like me when I first started, I just started playing around and just started adding stuff. And I'm like, oh, I don't like this font. I'm going to remove this font. I'm going to make this font, 96 points. And I'm going to make it red. And I'm going to do this. Well, if that was, my stuff was not accessible whatsoever when I first started doing this. Up until I started to learn, I'm like, oh, okay. And anyways, I just want to make sure that you guys understand that. But this right here will save you at least 70 to 80% of the major headaches, right? So that, as long as you use, of course, the tools that you already have in your system. If you use those two things, you guys are going to be in great shape. Not good shape, you're going to be in great shape. So if anything you walk away from today are those two things, when we export, make sure we use PDF and make sure we click on that dial that says best for electronic distribution and accessibility. All right, so I'm going to hit export. And it says, oh, do I already have one? I'm going to put this on my downloads, export. So now it's exported. So the question then becomes that's great, Martin. How do I know whether or not my PDFs fit the bill, right? So I am going to open up this very same Microsoft Word document now in my Adobe Acrobat app. When I do so, it looks like this, right? It's pretty much the reason why we changed Microsoft Word to PDF is that we want to save the format, right? For those of you who've been with us for quite a bit, remember the good old days when you used to use Microsoft, not Microsoft, but Word Art and all these other wonderful other programs, and then you try to export it to a different program and they got all jumbled and all that fun stuff. Well, the reason why PDF became a standard is because we wanted one simple way that no matter what type of machine that you have, it'll be able to read it. That's why we have PDF. So now the question then becomes how do we then know whether this is accessible? How do we know it passed the test? So the first thing I'm going to tell you is when you open up a PDF in Adobe Acrobat, what you want to do is you want to look for this ribbon on the right-hand side, it's a navigation bar, but you want to go directly here to where it says accessibility. When you click on accessibility, you're going to get another ribbon of things that you can do. So what I normally tell folks is when you're first starting out, go for the full check, right? So I'm going to click on the full check, and when I do, it's going to say, Martin, what do you want to do? Do you want to create an accessibility report? The answer is yes, I do want an accessibility report. Do you want all pages, or do you just want to check certain pages? So I'm going to give you tip number 1. I have no idea exactly what you guys do, but I'm going to tell you the following. If you are producing a document more than 9 pages, that wonderful thing should have a table of contents or should have bookmarks. So when they click on something, they can directly go. So anything bigger than 9 pages, right? So I know you're all developing your novels at the moment, yes? So whatever it is, if it has more than 9 pages, make sure that there's a way that you can either install a table of contents or bookmarks along the way, right? And in Microsoft Word, it can tell you, you can build the table of contents in Microsoft Word, and then of course that will automatically give it the bookmarks as it needs. So what I do is I turn all the lights on, right? I look accessibility permission flag set. I look document is not image only. I go through everything, right? Because I want to make sure that everything is checked upon. So now I'm going to go ahead and click Start Checking. And when I do that, on the left-hand side, I now see that this document has how many issues? I'll be the first one to tell you. If you keep that number under 5, you're good. This is not a heavy lift. If you have anything more than 5, then that's when you start to say, okay, how do I fix these things? But I'm just letting you know right now, anything under 5, you're good. But I'm going to show you what those things might be. All right. So down here, if you click on this little caret, right, it's going to tell you what it passed and what it didn't pass. So the first thing I see here that it has a question upon is logical reading order. So once again, logical reading order, if you're here in the United States, where do we start reading? At the top. And where? Left, right? So what it automatically goes through, it goes through all that process, but I think just because I know this document already, in this document we have a variety of screenshots. And because they're so crystal clear, it looks like text. So that's why it's asking that question, is we don't really know whether or not this whole document is following that rule of top, left to right. So all you have to understand is that, yeah, if you have images like this, and I have images that are calling out, yeah, that's going to give me that warning, so that's not a big deal. Next is title failed, right? So that means that I did not title this document properly. So once again, is using the header. In Microsoft Word or Google Docs, use the header component in order to write the header and the title for your document. One thing would also, just because I've heard this from other folks, when you save your document, if there are any spaces, like for example, my December report, if there's a space between my and December, it's going to flag it. So suggestion, underscore, my, underscore, December, underscore, report. So in other words, it's one long string of information.pdf. You see where I'm going with this? So I'm going to give you an example. So up here, what's my title? Yeah, so that's why it threw the flag. It threw the flag because that should be something like either welcome to Word as all one word, but then people might, get confused quite a bit. So my suggestion is welcome underscore to underscore word.pdf, and that will eliminate that check that we see. So, question?
So that is so a reader can read it.
Correct. Correct.
To a person who's just reading it with their eye.
Not a problem.
See underscore to underscore word.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So it still looks.
Yeah, And we're pretty much used to it, but sometimes we don't call attention to it. And I'm going to give you an example right now. If we go to, let's say, I'm going to go to our website, right? Look at this up here, right? And this is our County Office of Ed website. You see that percent sign between the SECOE and the 20? Yeah, that shouldn't be there, right? So in the web version of things, it links, it has to link to one another, and there cannot be any spaces. If there's spaces, it's going to provide something for you, which you may or may not want, right? Depending on the bigger code of things. And since we're now we're going from HTML4 to HTML5, and basically what that means is the way we write the internet, right? So we're using code. And why is this better? Because if we remember back in the old HTML days, remember when you used to go to the wonderful website and you're like, oh, I can't wait to watch that wonderful video. Then you click on it and it says, oh, you don't have the right plugin. Remember those wonderful days? Yeah. Or you can't view this picture because of you don't have the right whatever. So we've eliminated that. Adobe took a big hit because a lot of us used to use Adobe Flash to watch movies and stuff. So the internet kicked out Flash. So we're no longer using Adobe Flash. So everything is now standardized. That's really the reason why we're doing it. And when you're standardizing stuff, we cannot have any open spaces. Because if you have open spaces, now we're just guessing what we think you might have put in there. So accessibility programs, when they see that, it's a red flag where like, they now understand we're guessing that they just forgot, but if they start adding slashes and some other wonderful characters, it might mean something else or it might redirect them somewhere else. So that's why I always tell folks that if you ever see that on your accessibility component, make sure that whatever your title is, if you have spaces, make sure you use an underscore. You can use whatever other symbols you like, but I kind of like the underscore because we can then still read it clearly, even if you're not using a program, if you're just viewing it and reading it from there. All right. The last flag that it picks up here is color contrast, right? Now, if you're just doing regular text, you're going to be pretty much okay. Where it finds a hard time is, say, for example, what are your guys' colors? What's the district colors? Blue? What's your logo in? Blue and white. Okay, so that's pretty good, right? So blue and white. But if you have like 3 or 4 different versions of blue hues in the same picture or whatever, that's where it gets confusing. So you might see this pop up in your PDF, the color contrast, but that just basically means you need to check it manually, right? So just go over the document, and if you just have Board documents, I'm assuming Board documents are pretty much text. You don't use very much pictures, but if you do have a picture, and I'm going to show you, there's a way that you can also move that around. So one of the things that we'll find out is people have a hard time with pictures, and that's because, when we were taught this, we just learned just to drop a picture in there, make sure it fits in there, and then keep on typing, right? Well, to make it accessible, you need something called an alternative text. That means when the reader is reading it, or if you're doing this online, the way I know is I hovered over that picture of the otter, and you see that wonderful layout in yellow. That is the alternative text. So that means when an internet reader is reading it, that's what's going to read to that particular reader. To the naked eye, if you were just to print this out, you wouldn't see that, right? Or if I didn't hover over, you wouldn't see it. And I'll give you an example of that. But it's once you get in here and you click on it, that's when you'll know whether or not. So for me, the easiest way is when I go through my documents. And remember, these are only for documents that are going to go online. If you're just going to be doing stuff for one another and there's no accessibility issues, then that's not a problem. The only thing you have to think about is this going to be seen outside of this district? If the answer is yes, that's when you go through this process. You have to make sure that those accessibility features are on. And I'm going to show you in a moment how you add those alternative texts. And understand also, I have no idea whether or not you guys edit your own web pages, but most web editors now, they have, when you upload a picture, they'll have a space to write your alternative text on there. So just make sure you look out for that, because I think most, from what I've seen locally and regionally, they already include that. Okay, win-win. All right, so once you have that, like I said, everything else looks pretty much the way it should. The other component on the accessibility feature in Adobe is this guy right here where it says identity form. So in here, this is where you can come in and let's see. You can, well, no. I'm not going to show you that because it'll just confuse you. Let's see, what else can I show you? Set alternate text. Let's do that. Let's go back to the otter. Okay. So what I did was I clicked here where it says set alternate text. And what that will do is going to go through all the images that you have in your document. So for example, on the right-hand side, I selected set alternate text, and then went up to the very first picture. It's all my document. Now in here, what does that say? Quick access toolbar. So when we created this document, we made sure that we added this alternative text. If it was to say there's nothing, guess what you do right here and now? You write a description of what that is. Now, this is where it might or might not get tricky. So I'm going to give you a few pointers. We see this quite a bit when people who get in trouble is they create a document, and then because they know it's hyperlinked, you've seen this before, either it's a Microsoft Word document or a Google Doc where it says click here, but you don't know what here is, right? So our suggestion is never write that. Never write click here. You can say, I don't know, the district's technology use policy. Write it out, technology use policy, and then highlight and hyperlink that. So when the reader is going through it, they're going to say, oh, here's the hyperlink to the technology use policy. Here's the link to, I don't know, transferring students from one school to the other, whatever document that might be. So in other words, never use click here. If you can remember that, when you are hyperlinking, you're going to save yourself a lot of trouble, because we see it all the time. Click here, click here, click here, and it's like, whoa, what is here, right? So that's really good. And then the other thing is we've seen also where people now have decided to put images that say click here. So if you're going to do that because you want to make it look great, right? Because we understand the reason why people do it. So if you want to make it look good, right? Just make sure you use the alternative text feature and write down, says this will take you to the technology use policy, a link to take you to, you know, the school calendar, a link to take you to, so that way when people are reading, well, sorry about that, when people are reading it through their online reader, it's going to be easy for them and telling them where they can go. Yes, ma'am.
So although this says quick access to whatever it says, it's really not describing what they're seeing.
I didn't plant you. This is the first time we met, right? So, yes. So once again, it's, you know, think about, the best way is think about if someone was explaining this to you, would you understand what to do? And the answer in this situation is no. What does that mean, right? So can one of you help me out? What would you put to describe that? So all it is a toolbar, but it is the Adobe Acrobat toolbar. And I know for some of you are like, that still doesn't make it clear. Well, just letting you know, you're telling you what program and the toolbar, because most programs have toolbars. So that would be better than what we currently have here, right? And understand you can always go back and change it again. Is it okay to add links here? The answer is yes, but you have to give it the full link, right? And what I mean by that, you know how I gave you guys bit.ly, bit.ly/. That would be, since I'm giving it to you, if I was to publish it online, that would be a no-no. I would have to put http:// bit.ly. You see where I'm going with this? So if you are going to add links to this component right here in the alternate text, make sure you write the full, or you paste. You can copy and paste, right? And how much text is in there, this thing can expand. But don't write your doctorate on there either. you don't want that, right? Yay? We're good? Okay, we're good. All right. So at the very top, it tells me this is the first image out of 15, and you just use the slider to keep on going, right? This one now says, is this one, how do you customize quick access toolbar, style sets in design tab. So we did our best in here, but I just wanted to get to, yeah. So if we go back up here, right? We did okay with this one. The only thing, not with formatting, edit image. No, we're not going to do that for now. Oh, because we're going to show you on Microsoft Word. Okay, we're good. Accessibility, reading order, reading options, full check. All right. So if you have a computer with you, I want you to play along because we're now going to go over to I have a PDF checklist here for you. This is on slide number 10. And on slide number 10, I'm just going to go to it. If you click on it, it's going to take you to it. So this is something you can print out or just have it, bookmarked. So this is before I make sure I personally post anything online. I go through this checklist. So, our headings formatted with built-in heading styles. Levels of heading, as you understand, and you probably have seen in Microsoft Word and Google Docs, it says H1, H2, H3. So those are the different types of headings. So you have your main heading, and then your subheadings and your subheadings. So once again, make sure you have all of those. Now, as I stated earlier, descriptive hyperlinks are used rather than click here or the whole URL. I never like to use the whole URL, and here's the reason why. I want you to look at this wonderful thing up here. Y'all see that? docs.google.com/document/d/14. No one's going to be able to to type that in. So my suggestion is on this particular thing is I would just do like it says here, right? This is a hyperlink to the accessibility checklist. And then I would hyperlink this component to do that. Because other than that, it's just going to look like your document was built in 1998. And if you remember those documents from 1998, there was only like 4 things, and the rest of it was just HTML lingo on there. So my suggestion is just, once again, don't say click here, use the whole URL, but make sure that you have it hyperlinked. This is pretty critical, using bold or italics for emphasis rather than underlining. Because underlining is really difficult for web readers. So if possible, try to use bold or italics. And then this one right here, it's a major one. We get this quite a bit when people are creating lists. And within tables as well, is use the bullet list feature versus doing these wonderful things. And we see that happen quite a bit, right? Where you're just using a dash, or you're using your, a decimal, or you're using something else. to create those. White space, like I said, if you are inserting stuff, use the, once again, use the features. If you're going to use a new paragraph, click on New Paragraph on Microsoft Word or Google Docs. Not by inserting tabs or using the space bar, because we see that happen quite a bit. And let me just tell you, every time you hit the space bar for a reader, it says a sound. So it's like, and then it'll say something. So that can be a little bit annoying after a while, because it's like, you're being shot at for reading an online document. Questions on that one? All right. If once again, if here's the thing, that's a very good question. The thing might be is one of the three things might be your tables, but you have 15 tables in your document. Would you be comfortable sending it out that way? And this is what I mean. Versus, the title doesn't have the. So choose your battles is what I'm saying. But if it's something that's repetitive over and over again, you might want to take a look at it. Yeah. Like I said, if it's something that's that's all I'm going to say. If it's repetitive, yes. Sufficient contrast and color is used. Yeah, just make sure it's at the other end of the color wheel for whatever color you're using, and you're going to be fine. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just trying to think automatically what is the color wheel for blue, but here's a great example. So, oh good Lord, just give me a simple one. All right, so this guy right here, right? What would be a great color to use with blue?
Yellow, orange.
Yes. Okay, you guys get it. So you might say, oh, the purple. Depends, right? If you were the third, if you were the light blue, then the answer is yes. But what I'm saying is when we're talking about accessibility, right? And this is just, and I try to use the most simplest color wheel because it eliminates that stuff. So just understand that if you want to use the light green, make sure you have pink as your other color. And then a word to the wise, just for graphic design purposes, if you are going to create those wonderful posters that you all create, make sure you do not use more than 3 colors, if possible, right? Another tip I have for you is to use something called either Adobe Spark or Canva. Those are 2 free web products. And I personally love Adobe, and here's the reason why, right? Let's say for Adobe, you upload your logo. Is this your logo? I'm assuming it is, right? But let's just say we upload this whole picture, right, to Adobe. And when you do, Adobe uses artificial intelligence to look at the spectrum of the picture that you uploaded, and that's going to give you what do you call it? A color palette. And it'll say, this is accessible, and it's going to look great. So they have all these different elements. So my suggestion is, if you are going to create graphics, number one, make sure you use this type of thing. But if you don't know, like, what colors would be great, like growing up, anybody here wore granimals growing up? Gentlemen, no? Or granimals? Y'all know what granimals were? Yeah. Oh, you used to wear them? Can you tell us what they were? Well, there were animals. So, the elephant went with the elephant. Or you might be able to match it with the giraffe. And they had this, I know because my parents used to buy my clothes from Mervyn, so that's how I know these things. And when I would try to match stuff, it's like, I can't find the animal. Anyway, so it's now called Trunk for Men, by the way. But getting back to this, this is just an idea. So if you are going to create newsletters, if you are going to create, even on your presentations as well, make those things accessible. And if you are, remember alternative text, and if you are going to use this, And two of my favorite products, just to really make it really simple, is either use Canva, Canva.com, or Adobe Spark Post. And those are free 99, so you don't pay.
You already have an account with Adobe. Just scan in your Google login.
Win-win. All right. Back to our regular show. All right. So color, that's a wonderful thing. Oh, scan PDFs had the so two things I'm gonna mention. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger because it's hard for you to see from there. Is that better? No, can everyone see that? What's okay? So I know in certain cases some of you don't have the ability to get the original. It already came to you in some form or shape. Has anyone ever had to scan something? Right? That's always fun, isn't it? And then trying to edit that. So word to the wise on this one. If you have Google, Google does a really great job, right? Google, you can upload a PDF, or say, for example, if you just take a snapshot, right, a picture, it has OCR built in. So it's a technology that will suck the text out of it and put it into a Google Doc for you. Now, is this for everything? The answer is no, because there's some stuff you're like, yeah, this doesn't look very good. In that situation, I would then copy the text and redo it on a Microsoft Word document and then go through making it a PDF. It's going to save you a lot of time.
Wait, can I just repeat what I think you said?
Sure.
That, for example, if I'm given a contract
Mm-hmm.
from somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
you just suggested that I copy it? Like retype it?
Great question. No.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I'm just saying, if you got let's say, for example, you're redoing your contracts, right? And someone gave you a contract that was a scanned copy, or you might have the, just a paper copy. You don't have electronic version,
So like another company sent me their contract.
right? And you're like, well, number one, I can't read it very well, or we want to use some other language in our new contracts.
Yeah, no, I'm saying like I have to upload their contract to the board doc. Yeah. Right, so I would have to scan it.
Yeah, but when you, wait, sorry, one back. So if you have to scan it, I'm going to assume that your final product of the scanning is legit, that you can read it. You don't have to edit.
Okay, yeah, good.
Not a problem. You scan it, you upload it, do what you got to do. No. What I'm saying is, if, say you, and this has happened, I've done this with old technology plans, right? The person's no longer there, they wiped off their whole hard drive, but they need that information. All they have is a paper copy of it. So they scan it, they send it over to the district office, and the district's like, it's crooked, we can't even read it correctly. In those situations where just the verbiage is what you need, you can do it in Google Docs, because you guys have that for free. And what you do is you say open with in another Google Doc, and what it will do, it'll automatically copy that text and bring it over to an editable. But you can do this if you're at meetings and people are writing on this thing called paper, right? Yeah, you remember those? Like Post-its. I was at a training the other day, and people were writing Post-its. So I was running around taking pictures of the Post-its, and people were doing, why are you taking pictures of the Post-its? Because I want this information. And they're like, you're going to put all those pictures together? I'm like, nope. I'm just going to open those pictures up in Google Docs, and it's going to suck all the text off of it. And then I can rearrange the text however I need to, because we were working on goals and vision and all this other wonderful stuff. So I'm just letting you know, right? Sometimes you just need to grab text from somewhere, take a picture, and then open it up in Google Docs. Open it up in Google, and say you want to open it up in Google Docs. Open up a picture in Google Docs. Question? And what's the issue with them being that way?
They're obviously not, if the contract has already been signed.
Mm-hmm.
And then it might be handwritten in some parts or left out, that part.
Okay. So we're going to go through a process like that in a moment. But my suggestion is take it through the checker and then fix the stuff that tells you to check. But, well, yeah, because that's a whole different other one. Learning management system's not going to have to worry. Tables, yes, because that's a big one that we see quite a bit. All right. So as you see here, tables are not used for formatting only, are created through the table function and are designated as simple as possible. So my suggestion is this with tables. If you have a table, I've seen people create tables, probably like in Excel, take a picture and then bring it over to Microsoft Word because that's easier for them because they never learned how to use it in Microsoft Word. My suggestion is take those 5 minutes to learn how to create tables in Microsoft Word before you move them over to a PDF. Because if not, you're going to do double the job. Number one, when you bring a picture in, not only do you have to give the alternate text, but then you're going to have to rewrite everything in there. So my suggestion in order to avoid that is whether you're using Microsoft Word or Google, create the table with the table function in there. Because when you do that, then the tags get automatically tagged. It's going to know, oh, since you created a table with our tool, we know this is the heading. We know this is the name of the row. We know this is the name of the, what's besides the row? Column. Yes, thank you. So if not, you're going to have to write all that stuff up in the alternate text, and that's just no fun. So tables, and then make them as simple as possible. Once again, do not write your thesis in one cell of the tables. Oh, here's a fun one. I'm not going to worry about that. What I'm going to worry about is this guy right here, right? So we're seeing this more and more often is providing closed caption for videos. Why is that important? Anyone? Yeah. Why would we need? Because when sometimes, not only when you can't see, but also depending on the environment. I'm going to give you an example. Anyone here travel on an airplane? You ever go to an airport and you see a monitor on with something going on, but they have the closed captioning? Because if not, what would they try to do? Put it on full blast so everyone in the airport, right? Or if you go to a doctor's office, sometimes they have those as well, but they have the sound off or they have it very low, but they have the closed captioning on, right? So easy way of doing this, right, is one of two ways. Number one, it's like I did with this guy. Go down here if you're doing a presentation and do this and have this screen recorded. My go-to screen record is Screencastify. So that's an extension you can add on to your Chrome web browser. But a really simple way is if you don't say you're gonna show someone something else, like it's a video of someone doing something. My suggestion is the following: upload it to YouTube, because since you're all not that one. Since you're all an educational domain, let's see. I have one here. Now, if I was to show you this video without the sound, you would probably think, oh, what new program is this, right? But just the sound, and just so you know, it's a full channel, and these guys are great. They were teachers. And what they end up doing is they go to little kids, and they tell them a scenario, and then the kids just act it out, whatever comes into their mind. And then the adults take that script, and then they act it out. So, but what I love about this is if you upload anything to YouTube, in about 72 hours, they will automatically add the closed captioning for you. So, on YouTube, yeah. And since, once again, you guys are an educational enterprise and you all are part of the Google Educational Enterprise for your school district, that is a free service to you. And there's unlimited storage. So, my suggestion always is if you are going to do videos, upload them to YouTube, wait the 72 hours until they have the closed captioning, and then let your Oscar-winning film be viewed by the billions. Yay? All right. So we're going to go into what do you do with stuff that's already on there, and how do you check for stuff. So if you're with me on my slide deck, go to slide number 10 if you want to practice along. Go to slide number 10. And once you get to slide number 10, you're going to see exactly what I'm seeing on my screen. On the right, you're going to see an icon of this screen that's in red. Go ahead and click on it. When you do, it's going to take you over to this folder of these wonderful PDFs that you can practice with. So I'm going to show you a quick one, right? So I'm going to go here. I'm going to just choose the first one, and I'm going to down. Do I already have it? I already have it. Or here. So I'm going to choose the first one. I'm going to go ahead and open this with Adobe Acrobat. And there it is. And what I'm going to do now is, now that it's ready to roll, this is something that normally happens. I'm going to go down here on my Adobe Acrobat where it says Accessibility. I'm going to click on where it says Accessibility. And on here, I'm going to go once again for the full check. So I'm going to click on the full check. And it says, are you sure you want to check for everything? The answer is yes. I'm going to click here where it says Start Checking. Once I do that, document has, yay, it passed the test, right? Automatically. It has less than 5, so it has 3. So what are those 3? So we see accessibility, permission, great, great, great. Logical reading order, right? And once again, if it's a question mark, it's really not a minus because it just wants to make sure that you know that it's in the right order. And that I can tell you it's because of the spaces here. But that's not another problem. Of course, what did it flag us on? The title. Because what does the title say? You see how they use the dashes there? That's fine. But the space between that 9 and the G, the space between the N and the L, you see where I'm going with this? That's why it flagged it. Yeah. Yeah. And then the other thing is the color contrast needs manual check. But I'm going to be honest with you. The red is pretty good with the black, even though they're not across from each other. Pretty much black with anything else, unless it's like a light gray then, or a dark gray, I should say. And then, of course, it's probably looking at that, but that's fine as well. Just so you know, yeah, it picks up something as subtle as the gradient between the white and the blue here. So that's why it just wants to make sure that you understand that that's there. So in other words, this is pretty darn good. The only thing I would change at this moment would probably be the title. I would just retitle it, and that's it. So for those of you who have computers, go through the other ones and see what you find.
That second option that you went with the first one, can you do the second one? Because that would be mine.
Oh, sure. Let's find out. Okay. Oh, just so you see this. So I already have something running and it says, you want to read the whole entire document? So I'm going to say yes, start reading it. But that's just for my own sake. But what you would do, right? Oh, this is going to be fun. I'm going to click here where it says accessibility. And then what do I do next? Full check. Start, yeah, make sure you turn on all the lights and then click on start checking. And we're right on the money, right? So let's see what we got. So, tag PDF. So I'm going to be honest with you. This one, it's a really quick one. Go back to Microsoft Word, and when you export it out, remember how I said there was a little dial underneath that says, do you want to export this out as a PDF, as an accessory, or for, click on that, that will go away. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm also going to tell you, just by looking at this, right, the logical reading order, that's the reason why it's saying that is because of all these wonderful spaces in between, right? So a suggestion on there is create that as a table, but then eliminate the viewing of the table. You know how it has lines on tables? Put all this information as part of a table, right? And then, but just don't let the borders be seen, because you can make those unviewable. The reason why you want to use a table is so you can organize everything in its place. And when you do that, you're then also, it's auto-magically tagging itself. Like, oh. So, redacted personal information. Say that again?
Redacted the information in Adobe. I loaded that contract. And then I go to redact. It's one of the tools on the right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Mm. Yeah. And then just so you know, unless there are some other languages in here that it might pick up, if you were just to do that first thing I said when you export it out and just say accessibility, it will also fix the primary language because it checks for that as well. So these are very simple. And the answer is 0 and 5. So these are really, quick, easy fixes. And the other one that I'm going to tell you automatically is going to be your title as well. So you're pretty good. So they're not as hard as people think, but if it's something that's being filled out by many people throughout the year, if you have this online, then my suggestion is go back, redo that, so that way, because I'm assuming that all these documents that people fill out will eventually go into the board documents, right? Yeah. So if it's something like something that you guys use on a regular basis, my suggestion is just go in there, take the time, rebuild it if you need to. Or just do the simple stuff that we're talking about. And yep, we see language and we see title. And then of course, color contrast is not a big issue. So these are not, like I said, very time consuming. It's just, being aware. But like I said, if you're 5 and under, you're pretty good. And most of these can be solved just by checking that little dial when you are moving from Microsoft Word or a Google Doc on over to a PDF. Yeah, but you're going to be doing, but here's the thing, right? What I'm saying is if you're going to do that, you're going to do that for this one document. What I'm saying is if people are downloading the original, that means you're going to have to go through that every single time. So my suggestion is if it's, once again, if it's a document, let's say, maybe it's a job application that you guys have online and I have to fill it out. Yeah, because you can, but I say, but why, why be cleaning the mess when you can just avoid it from the beginning. All right. How are we feeling? Good? Something you can manage? Okay. Any burning questions you have at the moment? Yes, ma'am.
Would you mind, I think I might have shared with you one of the PowerPoint presentations that were converted to a PDF. I'm just curious if it's like a similar process or if it's like a Google slide that you're exporting as a PDF. Like, would it be like a similar process? Like, what issues do you usually see with that?
Yeah, images. I'll be honest with you, it's images. And once again, with those things, alternate text. So if you are, and most people do, with presentations, they use a lot of images. And my suggestion on creating PowerPoints, if it's going to be a district-wide thing, create a template. So that way, you know, and let's see, do I have one? Probably don't. They used to have it here. Let's see. Oh. Oh, that's our logos. That's not it. Forms, templates. We just updated our website, so that's why I can't find stuff anymore.
Yeah, we don't currently have a template, but
Yeah, so that's going to be my suggestion because we ended up doing it and for those particular reasons, unless you know what you're doing. But for most folks who don't want to bother with it, we created a template, and it's a PowerPoint template. So, you know, let's just say, let me choose something else here. You go here. Yeah, so on those, I would do the accessibility checker. And just, like I said, just do those very simple things. Usually with presentations, it's going to be the alternative text is going to be your number one. And then the other thing is the color contrast, but you can't really help it. My suggestion on those is turn it into a black and white or grayscale to upload. That's like my only thing I tell folks because it eliminates a lot of the stuff. I'm just going to see if I have, let's see, any type, presentations, owned by me, search. No, of course I use all my own. Okay. But, you know, I'll be honest with you, this is just a slide deck that we use in one of our current trainings. This right here would throw up flags. A lot of flags. Number one, if you see my little birds moving over here, those are GIFs. They see it as a picture. So I would have to say this is, you know, the Twitter logo. This is, you know, a picture of Abby Almerito, Martin, blah, blah, blah. But look at the color contrast, though. I'm like everywhere, right? So, you know, so for these type of things that you have, you know, nothing to really say about the background, the verbiage that I use is decorative image. So when I'm going through these, I just have I have it just copied and I just go through everything, put decorative image. A lot of times that's what it is, you know, ETS logo here, right? But other than that, you know, like here, I keep it very minimal. Oh, here's a great tip. Instead of using pictures, we use icons. So you can install something called the Noun project inside your Google Docs, or even if you don't, you can go to a website called the Noun project. And what I love about this, we use this now for pretty much everything. You can create a free account, and if you're really digging it, you can then, of course, purchase the professional one. So if I'm in here and they say I want to need an icon of a school bus, this will go out, and then I can download the icon. So it makes it, for us, it makes it really simple. It's free. I don't have to worry about, images, and that's what we pretty much use. Do not, I don't know, Wi-Fi or do not use or whatever. So everything that we do, we go to Project now because it's free. And then there's an extension so you can add this to your Google Slides or your Google Docs or, whatever it is that you're using. But ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much it. Everything else that I have in here for you walks you through like 10 easy steps to create an accessible. So these are all videos. So for your, that Friday night when you have, when you want to get really wild and learn more about accessibility in PDFs with your favorite adult beverage, you can sit down and think of me going over this. So I show you how to do this in Google Docs as well. Site Improve, if you are a website builder, this is another great tool that scans your website and it tells you what you should fix. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you shouldn't have very much with that. Yeah, especially if it's because it's pulling from a database. So that, unless you're throwing emojis on there and your favorite picture of your principals in there, you should be fine. Yeah, you should be fine. Yeah, because sometimes there'll be if it's pulling from a database, this should be fine. But here's what we've seen. When people create their tables, once again, from an Excel spreadsheet, and they put it into a Microsoft Word document, the table might run from one page to the other. That's an accessibility component. So that's why we always say, if you're going to build a table, build it within the tool sets that you have in Microsoft Word or Google. Yeah. Any other questions? What? I think we're going to be early here, folks. What else do I have? Regularly practice, questions. If you want to learn more about the wonderful stuff that we have, you can connect with us here. But if you want to connect with me, my information is there. So down here at the, where'd it go? So down here at the bottom, if you want to connect with social media or you want to email me for other information, like I said, we're always available to you. So we'll be more than happy to help. And with that, one more thing. Oh yeah. At the very end, if you click on this wonderful icon, it just, I take you to more other resources if you really want to dive deep into accessibility in your area. But that's all I got. Thank you. Yeah. Good.
So I wrote down I feel like you had a lot of little quick tips, more than 9 pages.
Yeah, I didn't say that at our last one. It's just stuff that